Good. Scene 1, shot 1, take 2, mark. I'm in Cape Town right now, not at home in Stellenbosch. We'll get to why in just a second, but this is a good place to start the video because this is where my month started. I started the 30-day minimalism challenge by watching Matt D'Avella's latest documentary, Less Is Now, and I had two things that I wanted to identify in watching the documentary. I wanted to identify principles which I could try to internalize during the 30-day period, and I wanted to figure out practical steps that I could take to work towards applying those minimalist principles. Now, the Wi-Fi bombed out during the first viewing of the documentary and I was only able to watch a part of it. Was het jy? Huh? But what I took from that first viewing was the first principle being living a simple life is more difficult than living a cluttered life. And I like that idea because to me it feels like if you are going to design your life or design a lifestyle, then there has to be a certain level of difficulty in that. So I like that idea. And the first practical step that I identified was going and cleaning up, having a packing day and getting rid of a whole bunch of unnecessary things. So I watched the documentary again with my mother and with my brother. Watching it with my brother was important because I realized that if we're going to do the big cleaning day in Stellenbosch, then he was going to need to buy into it because we stay in a flat together. Gaan mama ook die 30-dag minimalism challenge doen?
Ja, kom nog eens naar die weg.
Dat is ook de laatste. Ja, nee. Zou daarmee. Ja.
Music bed.
So today's packing day. I'll be starting in my room, trying to sort that out, and then we'll move downstairs to the kitchen and the lounge area, and then outside to clean up the garden and make that a little bit more aesthetic. Whew. I know why people don't want to do this, I think, because it is a lot of work. This is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It's also taking a lot longer. It kind of sucks to see everything come out of the closet like this and sort of having to face the reality that there's just a lot of stuff that I own that I really, really don't need and that someone else can benefit from having. So I'll put another hour on the clock and try to finish this up in that time. Also, the idea of getting rid of the clutter and that enabling you to appreciate every item that you own, that idea is sort of starting to sink in while I'm cleaning.
Chuckberry, strawberry, cranberry, dingleberry, baby.
You got it, buddy.
Hey mama!
Hallo Christian, alles is okay? Papa was er nog.
So this turned out to be an absolutely crazy month. My dad had an operation, my mom had an operation, my mom got a new puppy, but that puppy doesn't get along with her dog, so he's been staying at my dad's house where we need to take care of him, and my parents are moving stores because of COVID, so there's a lot of stress at work. And all of that pretty much means that the day that my dad went to hospital, my brother and I came from Stellenbosch to Cape Town to prepare for his coming back and left everything just the way that it was in Stellenbosch. Not being at home and I felt like I couldn't take practical steps towards practicing minimalism, but being away from home forced me to focus on the principles and trying to internalize those principles. And from the second viewing of the film, the second principle that was a big takeaway for me was this idea that getting rid of the clutter in your life allows you to focus on the things that are actually important, and then you realize those things aren't actually things. One thing that I identified, or that makes sense to me, is that relationships are one of those things that are actually important. And stuff often distracts us from relationships, but I think for me a bigger problem is my sort of ambition and my goals distract me from my relationships. It was difficult for me to make peace with the fact that I had ideas and specific ideas of what I wanted to accomplish during the month, and I had to be in Stellenbosch in order to do those things, and I had to make peace with letting that go. The same way we need to, I guess, let go of some stuff oftentimes to allow us to focus on relationships, the people that we love, and focusing on how to love them well. So that's what I've been doing. Been embracing being at home, taking a little bit slow, and figuring out how I can stay productive and stay creative while being at home. Hello! Come here. This is our new puppy. Actually, jammer, maar je moet nie hier pee nie. Kom. Okay, I need to take the dog to pee real quick. Sorry. Oh, yeah. I started a Patreon page recently, and the patronage idea goes back to the Renaissance period, where artists would have patrons who would support them so that they could create art. Nowadays, patronage is a little bit easier because you've got platforms like Patreon.
Patreon exists because when creators are paid, they can create more amazing things.
I started that recently, and I've found tremendous value and sort of meaning in supporting two of my favorite creators, like Stories of Old and Sideways.
Shrek is a masterpiece of musical storytelling. There, I said it.
So if you've derived value out of the work that I do, or want to partner with me in creating my first feature film and working towards being a full-time filmmaker, Patreon is one way in which we can do that together. The link is in the description, and I will see you guys soon.